I'm Ava Von Medisin, and I know I haven't been here for some time. I've not been making YouTube content. Been very busy with travel. I was in Europe for several weeks and only to return home and have one day at home, one day at work. And then I just went and had some downtime, went and done some surfing down in Cornwall, which is one of my favourite places in the UK. Anyway, I have picked a topic today for this clip. It's one that I hope brings an educational view on the different types of collar used in not just BDSM, but also kind of like submissive, slave, DS, whatever sort of dynamics are going on within that sort of background. I never script anything that I do for my YouTube chats. It just comes out raw. So the pauses and the thought process behind what I'm saying is real. So if I'm stuttering a little bit or not finding words, it's because I'm really trying to find the most authentic way of relaying like an important aspect of this side of what I do. So let me start off with explaining about collars and how my system in my head of how my collaring system works. So when people hear the word collaring, that can be quite a significant moment for a person who has been serving, is in servitude of a dominant, whether they're in a submissive capacity or whether they're in a slave capacity or in a DS relationship. Now, not all collars come with that commitment. So this is what I want to explain. Okay, so basically, I would place the collar around someone's neck, something like this. So this one's a leather thick collar, and when they come to my studio to have an appointment with me, like a BDSM related appointment that is consensual BDSM, one of these will be used, which I would call a session collar. So it has really no significance other than when I have someone enter my studio, I will place them on their knees with their hands behind their back, with their eyes gazing down to the ground, and I would place a collar around their neck, and I would sort of say something like, whilst this collar is around your neck, you will abide by the rules and the expectations of me whilst you're here, and you will not be dismissed until this collar is removed. So there's a little bit of ceremonial aspect to placing a collar around someone's neck when they're coming in to have a consensual BDSM session. So it'll be something like this, or you get the ones with kind of writing on this. One's like dirty slut, sort of like, so I've got bootlicker and things like that. So it's people kind of who are kind of like quite like the feeling or something around the neck that they're like either being owned in the way, not owned as like having a deep relationship with someone, but basically just the fantasy of kind of feeling like they are under some sort of restraint and restriction is what the collar provides in an appointment. Same with like cuffs, and you know, it's just having that connection with something that you wouldn't have if you was just walking around your own home or the street or something. It's like basically it's one of those generic kind of implements that come with consensual BDSM, slavery or submission. It just signifies that, and then after the duration of the session, the collar comes off, the person is dismissed, and they go about their day. And it has no significance other than being in the four walls and the confinements of my studio or wherever I'm choosing to work. Then I have what is, I would say, a showpiece. So a showpiece collar is for something that is seen in a formal situation. Now, why I'm bringing up this subject is because just recently something triggered something, and I felt so strongly about trying to get across why I do certain things and why I have certain ceremonic kind of like attachments to some of the things that I do. Not necessarily every dom does them, you know, every dominant is going to be different. They're going to have a different style, they're going to have a different sense of direction in their heads of, you know, this is what makes every dominant female unique and different in their own precise way. Yeah, there's like certain skill sets and things that we all kind of like can share, because it's like, you know, you can go and learn the skill, like going to kind of learn how to whip or flog, or, you know, do certain things within consensual BDSM. You can go and find those skill sets, how to, you know, do shibari and, you know, all those different things. But our mind is our own, and how we portray things, how we make our own little rituals is down to the uniqueness of the individual who's the dominant individual, whether you're doing that just as like a work skill set or you are actually a lifestyle dominant and it's part of like your life. So I'm getting back to a showpiece collar. It's a symbolic collar because of formal situations. So for instance, I literally just like was traveling to a very high protocol femdom occasion, and along with me it was my my submissive in training, I guess I would say now, to just kind of make it sort of for people to understand. They've not been serving me for very long. There is quite some distance between us in location, so geographic, we are challenged with time zones and just distance. But we met recently to kind of go to this to this femdom event in Eastern Europe, and I decided that whilst I was in a different part of Europe, that I was going to buy a unique piece, a unique collar. So it was like literally handmade, it's bespoke, it's kind of like it's one-off, it's not gonna be ever kind of like replicated exactly the same as what I brought on that particular day. And it was to kind of symbolize the female that was accompanying me as my submissive, for her to wear during this event, to signify that her being at this femdom event was in the dynamic that she was with me, and that she was like serving me at the event, and she was not going to be mistaken as a dominant or as like, you know, so for me it was for me this collar was a showpiece token, and I placed the collar on at a very significant place for me, with significant people. I really didn't think of any other kind of consequences that could have brought with doing that, for the fact that in my head I just wanted to give something to that person to be significantly recognized, the role, I guess, the role between myself and her. And so yes, a formal collar, not an informal collar for a formal occasion, is something that I would expect. So it's like it's a dungeon collar, because if I'm like just placing you in a collar for a dungeon session, a consensual BDSM session, that collar's going to come off. That's not going to be seen by anyone else. It's going to come off within after the duration that you've spent the time with me. A formal occasion, if I'm taking you, or if I've asked you to attend an event with me that is quite high protocol, it's quite high ranking, I am kind of going to be sort of not known when I'm attending that. So the representation that I like to give to others is like, this person is with me and they are wearing something symbolic of me. Okay, so that's where something that is like I have thought about it. I have like literally it's more significant than a dungeon collar, because it's going to be seen out in public. It's going to be seen at an event that I'm attending, that people know me and my reputation and what it is that I stand for. The reason of kind of like placing it on in a significant place amongst significant people, it was because it was important to me to kind of like do that. Again, I'm quite ritualistic. I like my rituals. I like, you know, creating something that feels grandeur, and just something as simple as putting on a formal but not a committed collar. Yeah, it's important. It's just like getting someone down on their knees in the dungeon and saying like, you're not going to be dismissed until this comes off, and you will follow orders and protocol, blah blah blah, while this remains. It's the same with this. It's kind of like, okay, we're at this event, you will follow protocol and you will follow etiquette, blah blah blah, but you are going to be seen out with me, and this is what's important to me, that you are wearing something symbolic of me. So that is a collar that is for formal occasions, out in the public, not general public. It is kind of like within the public of kind of like the femdom scene or the consensual BDSM scene. It's that what's signifying. So I hope I've made that clear between what is dungeon wear, what is my preference to kind of like have as token as some kind of formal wear, and now to the last kind of sort of colouring that I have in the past provided. At the moment, I have not got anyone that is formally collared to me. I have had 4 collared slaves in my almost 20 years of being a professional dominant as well as lifestyle. Some of the dismissals have been like, you know, a little bit highly emotional. Each one I have decided to have the collar removed from the submissive. Some things just naturally run their course, and you know, and people change in life and want different directions. So the significance of a full collaring for me of a submissive is like literally them showing you, and I also, it's not just on the submissive or the slave to kind of like show the dedication and the connection. It's also on my part that there's like a chemistry, there's a dynamic, there's an understanding of each other. And when I say, especially when it's DS, so the understanding of each other is like, you know, of that person, you kind of like get to know their soul and where their ethics sit, and kind of like how they emotionally run, how they kind of like, you know, how physically they kind of like, you know, gel, you know. So yeah, there's quite a lot of intensity and complexity in making a decision that you want to fully collar someone and take on like a responsibility almost for that person and the dynamics that you share with them. Now, I have had 3 of my dismissed submissives keep the collar. They kept the collar as like souvenirs. You know, because with their collar there came the responsibility. So one who I've just dismissed after 10 years had theirs permanently fixed on their neck, locked on their neck. They didn't take it off for 10 years. Another one, 2 other ones that I had, they literally couldn't wear it because of work purposes and things, so they had to have it unlocked. They just used to slip it off, but they had the responsibility of making a box for it to be kept in, making sure that collar, whenever they came to visit me, they presented it in a certain way. It basically was, I instructed it to be a cherished item, that it was like worth more than life itself, I guess. I wanted it to represent something that was, yeah, cherished. So, and then again, we come back to the ritualistic formality of my collaring ceremonies. So basically, if I was ever to collar someone again in the future, there would have to be like a extreme kind of solid bonding with that person, because it's been quite an emotional journey when I have decided that I'm going to dismiss someone. And I have my reasons, I have my personal reasons, and YouTube is not really a place that I would want to share that. You know, and I'm sure on their side of the story as well that it was like an emotional parting. You know, receiving a collar is this high emotional experience, and I guess having one removed is also very similar, but obviously with some kind of regrets or sorrow for it being removed. So going back to my formal collar, it would be something that is finely handmade. It would be something that had some engravement on it. So this one has been engraved with a message to the person that it belonged to. So it would have been a personal message from me to them around the locking barrel. This would also have come with a formal contract. So it would be basically vows. I would be setting down a whole list of rules underneath what a collar stood for. And under those rules would be also my agreement that I would have to uphold as the person that had collared that person. This would have been done sometimes just one-to-one. I've never really done it where it's a big ceremonial thing where others involved. It's always been very like personal and yeah, just a one-on-one moment. And I kind of normally do it around about a new moon. So for me that is just like signifying a new beginning. Yeah, there's a lot of thought that goes into when I write up a collaring contract. I can sit for like weeks just drawing up the right words that I want to use, and the right contract for that right individual, because like, you know, each one that I've collared has been someone who's brought me something from some different direction in life. They've not been people who walk the same footpath in the same lifestyle. They have kind of all been different people from different lifestyles that have brought me something completely different to my lifestyle. And yeah, it's always been like a difficult decision to kind of like remove a collar. I won't go into the reasons behind removing collars, but like I said, that's where the importance of a contract is, like, as also an extra binding to a formal collared submissive or slave, because the contract is stating all the things that needs to be adhered by whilst wearing this collar. And if there's something that's off with what's in the contract to what is kind of like the agreement between contract and collar, then it has to be revised and reviewed and dealt with. So I hope that this video that I've made has kind of given insight into my system on the different forms of collars. within I guess my dynamic of how I see a collar. So yeah, and I just hope you found this informative, and I'm sorry that I've been away from YouTube for so long. But yeah, I think I really like doing like clips like this that would, I guess, give some insight into my thought process behind things, because that can be confused. People can have alternative perceptions of what certain things are. For instance, collaring, or having a collar on, or having a collar placed around the neck can sometimes be misleading. It can be misplaced with the intentions behind it. But for me personally, there's very, big significance in kind of like the three types of collaring that I personally offer. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you soon. And what would you like me to discuss next? I'd like to hear from you. Until then, keep yourself safe and happy, and be kind.